What does the crypto market have in store for us this week? Welcome to Crypto Simulation Theory. I'm the Gaussian Snick. Be sure to join our free Telegram group, the Snick Pit, for daily market updates, chart analyses, and information about new projects. And just a reminder, nothing in this video is intended to be financial advice. All of it is for informational and educational purposes only. Crypto total market cap is looking quite bullish right now. It is sitting at $2.5 trillion. So still just slightly below the previous all-time high, which is around 3 trillion. I do think that we'll be able to break through that quite nicely. And what has changed since my previous videos from months ago? Well, the market has cooled off quite a bit. It's been cooling off for over 2 months now. And as the cool off continues, it just becomes more and more likely that we're going to see a very explosive move. And being that we're in a bull market until proven otherwise, that move is likely to be to the upside. But let's look at some data to kind of see where things in general are at, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, and kind of get an overall viewpoint of what to expect in the summer. And, summer's almost here. We are getting into late spring. And we'll see how some of my theses from earlier in the year have held up. Some of them may have held up well, and many have not. So let's dive in and take a look at what the market has to offer us. I want to start by taking a look at weekly Bitcoin. You can see right now we are sitting just under $70,000 at 69,140 something. And the overall structure of the market on the weekly looks excellent. We just need to kind of maybe understand where we're at this time. You can see that once we hit our all-time high back in March, April time period, we kind of have just ranged from that point onward. The all-time high being around 73-ish, and then we kind of retested that, didn't quite get to it in April. So it's been almost 3 months since we printed an all-time high. We know that in mania phases, we will print many all-time highs, right? Not just one. So are we there yet? Are we ready to just pop back off and just start flying higher, north of 100K or something? Or do we have a little more time to consolidate? Might there be another drop? So we need to take a look at some technicals to get an answer to what the probabilities tell us and kind of go from there. Well, besides the incredibly bullish Gaussian channel, green, concave up, and narrow, this is looking almost like the way mania starts to form, right? So besides that, we did tap the red band of our our Gunnar EMA on April 29th and held it. Okay, this was around 56K, bounced beautifully off of that and got above the green Gunnar EMA. So this is bullish by definition. We have not seen a bearish cross in a very long time, and it doesn't look like one is coming. With the weighted Bollinger Bands, you can see that we are starting to squeeze on the weekly. Now, the good news is we've been above the median line of the Bollinger Bands for quite some time. Other than a wick and maybe a few wicks underneath it, we have been holding it for a long time. And that is also quite bullish. Even though things have been kind of rounding around, this still looks pretty bullish. Now, if you've been following me on the channel for some time, you probably would recognize this red zone between 45 and 50K that I thought that Bitcoin was just destined to go down to. And while I can't prove that I'm wrong, I can say that there's a lot of things making me think I probably am. So we'll see. Ultimately the jury's still out. I don't really want Bitcoin to come down to 45 to 50K. I don't think it's necessary right now. But whatever I want to happen isn't necessarily what's going to happen or not going to happen. So what I'd like to do is take a look at some whole moving averages. So a lot of TA analysts use simple moving averages or SMAs. And there's nothing wrong with that, or EMAs, right, or WMAs. But I like these things called HMAs or whole moving averages because they're a lot more current looking rather than the SMAs, which are a little bit more lagging. I do value the lagging data, but I kind of make up for it with the Gaussian channel. So let's take a look at what those have to say. So it's a little bit of a puzzling situation, right? But if you zoom in on these whole moving averages, the yellow is the 20 week, the blue is the 50 week, the white is the 100 week, and the red is the 200 week. You'll see that we're getting squeezed right now, this week. we have a green candle, and we are squeezed underneath the 50-week HMA, but above the 20-week HMA. We've got the 100-week rising up here, 100-week. Let's just talk about where they're all located. The 50-week is at around 71.5, 20-week is around 67, the 100-week is around 60.6, and the 200-week is around 40. So while I don't, anticipate anything, super catastrophic happening, we do have to at least consider the downside possibility. I think that it is possible that we could go to the white SMA or HMA, but we are holding the 20. So we do need to keep that in mind. And also the 20 is curling. It's curling in a concave up sort of way. And the fact that we've got a green week here forming raises the odds that this is going to complete. It inflected a concave up on this death cross, and it may just come right back up and have a golden cross. And so if that's what's going to happen, and we're kind of at a critical juncture right here, then I think that this could be it for the downside right here. And we could be just blasting right off to new highs relatively soon. I'm not sure that that's what's going to happen. This is very, very tricky in here when you're squeezed like this. But there is a lot of data to suggest that bullishness is more likely than bearishness, but I want to make sure that we cover both sides. If you're curious what the simple moving averages look like, they look excellent. Okay, these are the SMAs. You've got the 20-week, perfect. You've got the 50-week. You've got the 200-week, and you've got the 100-week, which is curling its way up and about to golden cross the 200-week. So they couldn't possibly look any better. This is why I like to look at whole moving averages, because sometimes they can be a little predictive of what might be coming, but they can also give you false signals as well. This is a metric called the Average Sentiment Oscillator, or ASO, and it is a little bit, I don't really know how to describe it to you than other than comparing it to like something called the ADX and DI, but just to simply understand it, when you have the blue or the green, I guess it's kind of green, you have the green crossing and going away from the red, and the green being above red, that's bullish. When the green is heading towards red, that's bearish. And when the red, when the red's on top and getting further away and diverging, that's bearish, right? So the last time we had a bullish cross was on October 23rd, the week of October 23rd, or sorry, October 30th, the week of October 30th, 2023. The bullish behavior started though on October 16th, and we got a really strong run up until December, and then things kind of cooled off for a little bit, and had been actually heading in pretty closely. So there's not much separation now between the red and the blue, or the red and the green. And so when you get this close together, you certainly can diverge away. But let's look at what usually happens. Usually we do see some kind of cross, but not always, okay? You can see in the past, there have been times where maybe we were coming in and then we just got bigger, right? Now, generally speaking, when you get in pretty close like this with the green and the red, it generally means there may be some more pain ahead. And that's certainly not what the chart looks like, right? If you look at the actual price chart, you wouldn't think that there could be pain ahead. And maybe there isn't, okay? But this is this is becoming very likely now to cross. And if it crosses, that's going to be a little bit bearish, okay? So that is something we should be aware of, that the ASO right now is looking bearish. Now the Snabble RSI, which is an exponential moving average of the RSI, well, I should say it's the EMA version of the RSI. It has had some nice bullish divergence since May 6th. You can see that we went right up to the average line and then had a little bounce off of it, and now it looks like we're actually crossing above it right now. So that's bullish. Okay. Now the question is this going to print a lower high, or are we heading back up into the red zone? Or perhaps get a lower high and we come back down again. That's a question mark that I would have. There's no way to know just looking at this chart. The MACD is really messing with us. Okay, that's why you can't rely on a single indicator alone. It just doesn't work. So we had bearish divergence around the week of April 29th, and we've been printing some dark reds. Had a little bit of pink, and then another dark red and a little bit of pink. So the question is, are we about to cross over now and become bullish again? No way to know. But seeing some light pink develop right now at the beginning of this week is a positive sign, but it's also the beginning of the week, so we don't know. Other than just, okay, well, at least we're not printing another dark red. One of the only other times that was really tricky with the MACD like this one is probably late 2019. You know, we went dark red, light pink, dark red, light pink. Most of the time with Bitcoin, you don't see too much variation in the MACD, like too much crazy variation. Like you had a light pink and a dark red and a light pink. You don't see too much flip-flopping around, even here in the bear market, right? It's pretty consistent for the most part with the reds, and so this is kind of a question mark right now, a little bit different looking than what I've seen in a while on the MACD. The stochastic oscillator is a hard read also. It's looking kind of neutral. After looking a little bit bearish, this orange line has come up to here, green's down here. Generally speaking, that's a bearish formation when you have orange above the green, but this could very easily curl back up, so we can't tell much from that either. One thing I can always count on is my tricks bubble. This is one of the best indicators that I have, one of the most reliable, not too many false signals, and I like what I'm seeing here. So after this really strong bearish divergence, I think we finally hit some kind of bottom, and this is a very short-term moving average that you're seeing here. Now, it's not super convincing yet, but this does look to me like we might be getting some bullish divergence on the most short-term I think this is a 5-week simple moving average, and these are the other ones, 7, 9, 11, 14, I believe. So we do want to see this. We want to see it start to curl up, and if we see a cross, that is generally quite bullish. As you can see from the past, when you get those bullish crosses, we get some pretty nice price action to follow. However, there are times where we don't quite make it, right? We just kind of come up and then flip back over. So while the tricks bubble can give us an idea that, you know, maybe we're getting some relief this week, we don't know exactly how explosive that will be. Okay, a positive sign is that the wave trend oscillator has entered back into the dark red zone. It is green, so that is a good sign that we are heading in a better direction than we were heading in. We have been in this red zone all the way since November, so for over half a year now, and that's pretty impressive. Like, it's been a while. If you were to scroll back, I think this is taking up maybe a little too much data. Let me turn auto off. I think that might be causing this to go slower, or maybe my computer is just going slow. But anyways, if we scroll back, you can see the last time that happened would be back here in 2021. We got up into the red zone in, looks like around October 2020, didn't leave it until May of 2021. So, and then the time before that, that was 2019, of course. That's a little bit of an anomaly. And the last time we spent a really long time in the red zone, and we could be emulating, you know, that this cycle is 2016-2017 cycle. And so you can see we got here in October of 2016, and we never went below it until when? January of 2018. So for over a year. So that history could be rhyming with 2016, 2017. There's a lot of reasons to think that that's actually the most likely scenario too, because one of the observations that several analysts have made is that Bitcoin, when accounted for the M2 money supply, has actually put in a brand new high for the first time since 2017. So that's pretty noteworthy, and you know, that kind of strength could be among the reasons why we see price action remain in the red zone for quite some time. This is another one of my favorite metrics to look at for overbought and oversold conditions. Bitcoin was at its peak overbought level in December of 2023, which is now a little, well, around half a year ago, right? It's been that long. And ever since then, we have been trending our way down, all the way down to where we are now, which is very close to oversold. In fact, when we got down just a little lower than this, that was October of 2023, that preceded a really strong run-up. Bitcoin tends to not spend a lot of time at either extreme. So I think there's a pretty good chance of a major reversal coming soon. Will it happen this week? I don't know, but I think there's a good chance that that's where we're heading. And I will say this, I think that if we're still in a correction, which certainly doesn't look like it this week, right? But if we were to still be in a correction, okay, just hypothetically, I don't think there's really that much time left in it. I think we are like very, very close to the end. Now, if you've been following me on Telegram, you may be puzzled, wow, this bullishness, right? Because I have called for a possibility. I've been very cautiously optimistic, but there have been some signs that have made me kind of think that it's possible we could get a surprise flush out before things, go in the other direction of bullishness. Why might I think that? What is going on in my head around that? Do I still think that? We have to go down to the daily time frame to see some of the signs that have made me think that way, and I'll kind of explain them to you so you can kind of understand where I'm coming from in terms of a potential bearish case. So I don't think there's too much reason to be bearish. I want to be clear about that. I think being bullish makes a lot more sense right now. But what was getting me bearish in a lot of my Telegram alerts was looking at the daily time frame and seeing that the Gaussian channel had flipped red. This was back in early May. And then we sliced through it, which was actually quite bullish. I got really bullish around here because there was no reason to be bearish. But then I noticed once we broke through the Gaussian channel and then we tried to kind of hold it as support, that failed and we dropped down. But things didn't go south as far as I thought they would. So we've actually managed to bounce back up off the median line of the weighted logarithmic Bollinger Band, and it's squeezing now. As you can see, there's a big move coming. And not only that, but all this upward momentum flipped the Gaussian channel green, and we actually had an inflection point occur in the middle of May, which is bullish, 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 bullish. So while the average sentiment oscillator is really the only metric that is that you would look at if you just looked at it by itself and would say, okay, that's kind of bearish. I think there's way more bullish indicators than there are bearish ones. This looks like big move coming to the upside. That's what it looks like. That's what I've got to stick with. So, but one of my first thoughts and the reason why I was bearish had to do with the fact that we couldn't hold the top of the Gaussian channel, right? And I saw us falling through it. I didn't like to see that, but I do like to see that we bounce back up. And now we're just kind of straddling as it turns green. That is quite bullish. There were some other things too, so let me talk about those. Again, it comes down to these whole moving averages, and you could say I'm kind of putting these things to the test this cycle, and you wouldn't be wrong. Now, granted, we have had two golden crosses. We had a golden cross of the 20 with the 100. We had a golden cross of the 50 with the 100. And we got rejected. Remember, that rejection point was actually at the 200-day whole moving average. But look at what's happening with the 100-day. It's curling back up. The 50-day is kind of concave down right now, but that could very easily change. And you can see that the 20-day is starting to curl back up. So honestly, all this is starting to look pretty bullish. But I was seeing like the death cross happen. I saw this rejection and I thought, maybe we could go down and hit this white SMA or white HMA around 65K. My thought was that could happen before we go off to the races. And I also, acknowledged the possibility of, that we could come down even further. I told you at the beginning of this video, and I'll say it again, I think my prediction that we were going to fall down to the 45 to 50K red zone, I think it's wrong. I think that prediction is wrong. And I think that history will show that it was wrong. The data just doesn't support that theory anymore. The data supports that we're about to have a move higher. And that is exactly what we would need. We need some kind of explosive move higher to kind of move the altcoin market in a major way, in a good way, right? So we actually might not see that final flush out of altcoins against the US dollar, which is a good thing. Nobody likes to see their altcoins bleed or any of their crypto bleed. So let's talk about the story that is most likely to happen for Bitcoin going forward based on the fact that the most likely path is bullish. That is what I think. I think bullish is quite likely. So there's a few things that I feel need to get sorted out in the meantime. We need Bitcoin dominance to top. I don't think Bitcoin dominance has topped yet, but I think it is very close to topping. I want to look at that next. We need we need to know if ETH Bitcoin has bottomed yet or not. So either ETH Bitcoin puts in a higher low or it puts in a lower low. Don't know yet, right? And then we need to see what happens with others' dominance. So all those things kind of together are going to kind of spell the narrative for the second half of the bull cycle, which I think is going to be quite bullish. Weekly dominance for Bitcoin doesn't really look so great anymore. I think that it's close to being done. I do. I think it inflected, in fact, like right here. Looks like an inflection, and instead of being green and concave up, it looks like we're green and concave down. That's sort of the first sign that things are not so great with Bitcoin dominance. But if Bitcoin has an impulsive move to the upside that happens soon, it could send dominance up one last time. And I really think it would be one last time. I am not so sure that it makes it to this yellow line at 58.48%. That's a big ask. It's at 54.4% right now. But I think it is possible that we could see it revisit maybe the 56%, maybe 57%, just depending on how violent of an upthrust it is. I don't think that Bitcoin dominance is about to fall through the floor tomorrow, but I think it's gonna fall soon. And that will mark the beginning of altcoin season. So I think altcoin season is so freaking close that you can feel it. And if you have altcoins that have been going up, congratulations, they're probably going to go up even more during altcoin season. If your altcoins have been frozen in time and you're getting bored with them, just be patient, because I think the most likely direction is up for your alts. If the most likely direction for Bitcoin is up and it's about to take out its previous all-time high set just 3 months ago, which wasn't that impressive of an all-time high, but now we're talking, 75, 80, 85K and so on, and maybe challenging 100K. That's going to bring so much excitement into the market. But as soon as Bitcoin puts in its next intermediate top, or cycle ending top, I think it'll be an intermediate top, because all this cooling off has allowed for a lot of upside potential. And we can talk about just how much upside potential at the end of this video. But I think that Bitcoin dominance is going to get a nice pullback. I don't think it's going to be done for the entire cycle, because I think it will, have a resurgence. You just have to look at the past to see kind of how this has played out before. Bitcoin dominance bleeds out. Oh, I'm sorry. This is probably not the best place to look. Let's look in a bull market. So like right here, kind of heading into the 2021 bull market, we were coming out of the bear. We had a nice peak in dominance. The dominance kind of bled out. And then 2020, dominance went on a run again. November 2020, kind of bled out a little bit, went back up December 2020, and then really just hemorrhaged out. And then started just bouncing around. I think we're about to see a pretty big dump by dominance. I do. I think it's coming soon. I think it could come as early as this month. And if not this month, I would be shocked if it takes longer than July. But I think it's this month. I think this month you're going to see dominance dump out. And you want to be ready for that. Okay, you want to be ready with your altcoins, because people are bored with alts right now in general. They think alts suck. And, that's probably not the attitude you want to have right before a major altcoin season. ETH Bitcoin has been an interesting one lately. So it bled all the way out to the 0.044 region. I had a red zone target between 0.03 and 0.04. I have not backed off on that yet. I'm not sure that we get down that far. This was a pretty impressive candle, but it's possible we do. If Bitcoin surges hard, generally it's going to leave Ethereum in the dust. And what I've noticed is for the past 3 weeks, including this massive surge up, Ethereum has been unable to hold strength on its what used to be a 5-year, you can see a 5-year long-term support line. I mean, this goes back all the way to 2019. This was a long-term support line that ETH Bitcoin had never broken below before. Okay, sorry, I don't know what's going on with my red zone. My red zone just kind of moved, has a mind of its own. I think I accidentally dragged it. Anyway, you don't need the red in there. You know where it's located, 0.03 to 0.04. I think that if Bitcoin really gets insane, it's possible we see ETH Bitcoin just take a big dump. For that to happen, we'd have to see a corresponding rise in dominance. And we just basically, all we have to see happen is to see Bitcoin outperform Ethereum in a massive way. So if Ethereum, gets dragged up by Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin goes to 100K or 110K or whatever, Ethereum maybe takes out its all-time high and it goes to 5,000 or something like that. The ETH Bitcoin ratio is going to drop, right? I guess it just depends on how it all falls out, right? Because right now we're at 3,800 roughly. But you can imagine if Bitcoin price goes up quite a bit and Ethereum just can't quite keep up with the rate of change of Bitcoin price is going up faster than the rate of change of ETH price, then ETH Bitcoin is going to drop. And I do worry about ETH Bitcoin right now not being able to get above its long-term support trend line. I mean, wouldn't it be a beautiful thing if this just turned around right here and ETH Bitcoin could get back on the trend line? That would be awesome, right? But I have doubts. The Gaussian channel is red and concave down still and tight. That's generally not very bullish. We entered into the Gaussian channel, but we weren't able to sustain that movement. That's generally bearish. So my projection is that ETH Bitcoin is going to drop again on a Bitcoin pump. I can't tell you how far it's going to drop because that would require me to know by how much Bitcoin is going to outperform Ethereum. I have no clue. So I don't know if ETH Bitcoin is about to print a higher low. I will not rule that out. And I think if it does print a higher low, I think 0.05 is probably a pretty likely place for that to happen. There's a lot of touch points there. So I'm on the fence about ETH Bitcoin having bottomed or not. I don't know if it has. But I'm sort of 50-50 on it. But do I think that ETH Bitcoin is ready to run off to the races right now? Not yet. Okay? Not quite yet. I think Bitcoin's going to have to steal the show. And so it's going to dominance, of course, will go with it. And it just depends on how long it takes Bitcoin to get to that next high. If it happens in the month of June, then all it will take is a month for Bitcoin dominance to die. But like I said, it could take till July. For all we know, it could take till August. I don't know. I don't know how explosive Bitcoin is going to be. It's been ranging for 3 months, so probably pretty explosive. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't think ETH Bitcoin's done bleeding. ETH Bitcoin did not make a higher high. Okay, it didn't. So now it needs to see if it can make a higher low. If it makes a lower low, I think that lower low probably will come in close to the 0.04. And I think that likely is the bottom. I don't think we're going to need to go into the 0.03 region. I would think that way maybe if Bitcoin were about to have a violent drop. But the fact that I think it's about to have a violent pump makes me inclined to believe, because ETH Bitcoin tends to not bleed quite as hard on Bitcoin pumps as it does on dumps. So I'm open to the idea that we could see a higher low here. So this is total 3 minus USDT stablecoins divided by Bitcoin, which is a measure of the altcoin market against Bitcoin. Similar to ETH Bitcoin, I'm also not 100% convinced that this will not revisit its lows. Okay, so its lowest low most recently was April 8th. It's trending below its weighted logarithmic Bollinger Band with median line. It's kind of heading down. It's not even touching the Gaussian channel anymore. Gaussian channel is concave up and fattening. So I think that whatever drop that happens here, and I do think it will drop, I think altcoins are going to drop against Bitcoin. And if you don't understand, dropping against Bitcoin does not mean that their US dollar value goes down. But the whole idea in this game is to outperform Bitcoin, right? But you have to also acknowledge that there's going to be times where you don't. If you hold Bitcoin in your portfolio, well, then you don't care, right? Your Bitcoin's going to do well, right? The idea, though, overall is that the Satoshi value of your entire crypto portfolio, you want that to be as high as possible, right? So if your portfolio is very heavy altcoins, then chances are if Bitcoin goes on a crazy pump, it's probably going to outperform your portfolio. Okay? There are some exceptions, some meme coins. But in general, I think that Bitcoin is about to outperform most altcoins. That's going to cause this to fall probably one last time. I think that's it. One last time, and we're off to the races. Again, that will probably correspond to Bitcoin dominance starting to crater. And, I don't know that Ethereum will necessarily be the thing to lead off altcoin season like it has in the past. There's a chance, I think, that others, I'm talking about others, we're talking about Total 3. There's a chance that Total 3 minus stablecoins divided by Bitcoin actually leads off before Ethereum. We've got a lot more than ETH in the space now. We've got the base ecosystem. We've got other ones, X Layer coming on. We've got, there's so much, the Solana, there's so much variety and diversity in the space. Celestia, that you can't just look to Ethereum anymore. So Ethereum could still be falling against Bitcoin, but you might actually see the altcoin market wake up first. Be prepared for that. This is a very convincing accumulation phase to me. And I've been saying this for months. This is one of the things I've been saying that I think I'll end up being proven right about, which is we have been in an altcoin accumulation phase against Bitcoin really all the way since 2023, since the altcoin disaster of 2023. I think we've been range bound, and this is what an accumulation phase looks like. This is a textbook accumulation phase. And oftentimes at the end of an accumulation phase, you'll get one final drop, one final flush out. Seeing that the Gaussian channel inflected back in November, it's concave up and widening, you can almost see the green coming. The green is not far away. And I think that we'll see that green form probably as a result of all this price action. It's lagging, remember. But I think what will reinforce that is probably a V-shaped recovery. So that's kind of something that I'm anticipating. I'm also anticipating that with others' dominance. Let's go to that too. So others' dominance is the dominance of, I think, like the top 250 altcoins minus the top 10. And you can see that it looks similar to Total 3 minus USDT divided by Bitcoin, some of the structure, like this M shape, for instance. But its Gaussian channel on the weekly has already flipped green a long time ago. It flipped green in January. It's concave up. And I think, we're sitting right at the median line of the Gaussian channel, right at the median line. We're below the median line of the weighted logarithmic Bollinger Band. So I think it's very likely we see a nasty flush out here and a V-shaped bounce. Now, whether that stops at the lower boundary of the green Gaussian or it goes all the way down to the trend line, I don't know. But this has happened before. There's precedent for this. Look, we got a green Gaussian all the way up here and violently slashed down below in December of 2020. That marked the beginning of altcoin season, of a very explosive altcoin season. I think the same thing is going to play out again. I do. I think we're going to come down. It doesn't have to be to the trend line. This will be on a Bitcoin pump, a very violent Bitcoin pump that will probably do this. And then we just bounce right up into altcoin season. So I think, kind of lesson all this is be prepared with your altcoins, right? Get your altcoin positions. Whether you're getting them with Bitcoin or you're getting them with US dollars, I think probably both makes sense. Don't offload all your Bitcoin. You want to hold on to a good amount of it, especially if Bitcoin's about to have a massive pump. But keep an eye on dominance. Having altcoins is a hedge against Bitcoin dominance. Having hedges is a smart thing to do. So, that's something I would look at for sure. Tether dominance don't look so great anymore, does it? Big move coming. Probably to the downside. Okay, we had a relief rally by Tether dominance. That relief rally seems to be over. and it looks like we're about to dump out again. Gaussian channel's red, concave down. This is what you want to see. This is exactly what you want to see. You have to go all the way back. Let's go all the way back to 2017. You can see right around July, Stablecoin Dominance started to plummet. Right? That's what you want to see. The Gaussian channel, though, has only turned red a few times, and this is one of them. So I like this. I want to see this just, it looks like it's about to roll over. So big move coming for Stablecoin Dominance, probably to the downside. Okay, so one last thing that I promised you guys that I would look at was the overall risk level for Bitcoin. So I have a risk level indicator that I'm using now that I'd like to share with you, so we can sort of see like how likely is it that we're near a market cycle top. If we were to explode right now, what kind of prices could we see? That's, I've shown you guys this thing called my beam risk metric. Okay, I think for Bitcoin that metric is kind of difficult to use. So I have a new risk metric that I found online that I've been using, and very happy with it. Let me share it with you. So I love this risk metric. It's a beautiful metric, and it will tell you Bitcoin's current risk value. I don't know how easy this is to see on your screen. If you're watching this on TV, it's probably easier. But you can see that zero risk right now, which would be like the absolute lowest that Bitcoin could possibly go, would be around 29K. 10 risk is 34K. These are bear market values. Okay, and these are going to go up with time. So if you want to get an idea of like where the next bear market low might be for Bitcoin, I guess it depends on how long that takes, but it could be up at the levels we're at now. Would not be surprising, or even 48K or something. We may never revisit the sub 40K region again. We are currently sitting at 50.88 risk. Okay, so 50 risk is 68K. So what risk levels are above us? I think we're much more likely to hit risk levels above us than we are below us. And I think there's a really good chance that Bitcoin is about to go parabolic. Start its like major parabolic process. If we were to max out price today, let's say that we were already at the top of the channel, which is right here. This would be 100% risk. This is like get out of the market. That would correspond to an overall risk of 100, which would be 161K. So at this point in time, the highest that Bitcoin could possibly go, and you can see in the past, we have gotten very close to these levels. Not price levels, but risk levels. Okay? Or even slightly above it. I think something like this could happen. I didn't think that a month ago, but I'm starting to think that now. Okay, if we climb our way over the next year or more, I think we could hit near 100 risk. And here's a crazy thing. And, this is very different than what I've been talking about in the early... If you listen to my videos from quarter one and even the early part of quarter two, I'm talking about left translated cycle. I'm talking about all this stuff. Yes, that's still possible. I'm not even thinking about that right now. I think that my left translated cycle theory honestly feels like a load of BS at this point. So I'm leaving it out there, but I'm not gonna talk about something I don't really believe that much in anymore. If current risk for 100 is 161K, and this is based on logarithmic regression, which I'm a big believer in. And we were to like extend this out, right? Just kind of imagine extending this out and narrowing it. Let's go out even further. I mean, I could pull out my drawing tool if I wanted to. Okay, this is not perfect. You can see the parallel channel is not perfect. But let's just say our cycle top came in as usual. We got our 4-year cycle. Our one risk would be somewhere around $230,000. That's right, a $230,000 to $240,000 Bitcoin. Now, back in, I think it was, about a year ago, I actually drew out a scenario for this very kind of thing. very different criteria that I used. Then I abandoned that theory when I started to think, you know what, I think a recession is coming at the end of the year in 2024 or 2025, or, you know, heading into end of presidential election year, blah, blah, blah. And I think I was really getting caught up in confirmation bias, my own confirmation bias, you know, and ignoring some of the bullishness that was happening. So I think it is quite possible that we breach 200K this cycle, but it has to go into next year for that to happen. I suppose at the end of this year, we could breach 200K at a 100 risk level. It's just, I don't know if that's enough time to like get up there. You know, it doesn't seem like it. So I think if we're going to breach 200K, we do have to have the bull cycle extend into next year. So last for like about a year, which it is usually what it happens. And maybe the 4-year cycle, or thereabouts plays out yet again, right? So this was not my base case coming into this year, but it's slowly starting to become it because I can't ignore the bullishness. I just can't ignore it. And so I'm not going to be bearish when it makes sense to be bullish. So there you have it. This is where we're at now. We're at 50.85 risk. In fact, 60 risk is at 80.8K. 70 risk is at 96K. 80 risk is at 114K. 90 is at 135. So I think without a doubt, I feel like we're going over 100K this cycle. And I would be surprised if we don't. Be very surprised. With all the momentum we have with the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, there's just so many things to be bullish about. And our economy will catch up with us sooner or later, okay? But we can't worry about that right now in the middle of a giant freaking bull market. So I am bullish. I'm slightly cautiously bullish right now, okay? And the only thing keeping me, you know, the slightly is just because I always like to acknowledge the other case. But, you know, in summary, Bitcoin looks great. Total market cap looks great. ETH Bitcoin looks like it's not far from bottoming. The altcoin market looks like it's in the final part of its accumulation phase. And yes, I mean final part, meaning that if you don't have altcoin positions, probably should get them soon. Because if you don't, you may get left in the dust. Not financial advice. You're certainly welcome to play this market without altcoins. But that's just sort of what I'm thinking. It's foolish to assume that things have to play out the way they played out in the past, meaning that Ethereum kind of leads things off. I've said that Chainlink might lead things off. Who knows? It might not. Chainlink is actually in some ways looking better than Ethereum right now. So for now, I guess, in terms of the king of the dino coins, arguably Solana and Near Protocol. But Chainlink has been looking a little bit healthier. So will that play out? I don't know. But there's so many altcoins out there. So many of them. I think it's important to open your mind and to think a little bit differently about this cycle and not necessarily wait around for Ethereum to start moving before you start buying altcoins. Okay? I think waiting like that may be a mistake. But of course, you need to do what you feel is best, not what I feel is best. Thank you for joining me in the crypto simulation. I am the Gaussian Snake. Appreciate you listening to this comprehensive market update. I would love to hear your thoughts, so please share them in the comments if you have any. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please give me a follow and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And I would love to have you in my Telegram group. It's called the Snek Pit, S-N-E-K. There's a link to it in the video description. And we have daily market updates, chart analysis, and information about new projects, and 250 members just like me and you trying to navigate this complicated market and make some money. So until next time, hope you enjoy the craziness of the market. I hope my bull case is correct, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye now.